So what's it like being the president of Night Retreat?
Oh, I tell you, it's the greatest job. I wake up every day like so excited about what we're going to get done and all the changes we're doing at the resort. It's been a long time coming, been a long road to get here, and lots of times when I probably should have had my head examined and gone and done something else consciously, which says a lot about how do you end up, where you do. Some people have a very deliberate plan for their life and they follow it and everything seems to fall in place. I knew guys in college who just seemed to have a sense, here's why I'm in school, here's what I'm going to learn, this is the job I'm going to have, my career is going to look like this and fold out. I never did. I graduated having no idea what I wanted to do. I would say until a few years ago still didn't know what I really wanted to do. There's a lot of wisdom I think today is, don't focus too much on an exact plan, because the likelihood is you're going to zig and zag all over the place. You don't know what's going to come into your life and influence you. And the most important thing is to have a general sense of direction where you want to go, but be open and let the world push you around a little bit, because you never know what's going to pop up. I say I got here very much by falling into the right places at the right time. It's certainly not what I thought I would do. In our world here, myself and the managers is we live in two time frames. One is operating today. What's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen in the next 4 or 5 days with weather, with visits, with our schedules, snowmaking, what are we opening, what are we closing, what's coming up. And at the same time every day we need to be working 6 and 12 months out, and in my case, sometimes multiple years out. What's our plan 2 years out, 3 years out, 5 years out, and what do we need to do today to start setting that in motion? Who do we need to start meeting with and consulting with if we want to build a new project? And we know, for instance, we'll build a new hotel here in the next couple of years. We won't finish that hotel till 2018, but we're working today on the initial site plan, what needs to be included in the hotel, how big does it need to be, what services does it need to have, what's the pathway of all the permits and planning that have to happen to make that happen. So it's, in the course of a day, it might be running to a meeting to talk about an emergency we have because the lift's not running right, and making sure 20 minutes later you're in the meeting to talk about something that won't happen until 2 years from now. But if you don't have that meeting today, you'll never hit that mark 2 years from now. It's all over the place. Well, I came here in 1994, so 21 years ago, thinking I'd be here 2 or 3 years. My background, I actually graduated as an English teacher, teaching The Hobbit and Tolkien. I was an 8th grade English teacher, which was awesome. I thought that's what I was going to do. But I had been a skier my whole life, and took a winter off to go out west to go skiing. Snowboarding was just starting to happen a little bit then, out in Utah, and had a great winter. It was epic. It snowed every single night. It was one of the best years that we'd ever have. And then just I clearly had no plan. I wasn't like my friends who had already started in a law firm or started in some kind of accounting firm or business firm. I was still trying to figure out what my life was going to be, and literally just kind of fell into a job as a director of an organization that's a trade organization for cross-country ski areas, which was, I was only maybe 24, and I couldn't quite understand how it was that this group was entrusting their business to a young guy with no business experience, until I learned a lot about business that year, because I went in and their books were completely in the red. They were totally bankrupt, had no money. I had to get rid of all the office equipment, had to get rid of my secretary, had to defer my payment a lot. Fortunately, I was living at home, so I could afford to do that, and kind of work to get this organization back on its feet. And one of the ways I did that is down the road was an office of the U.S. ski team. And so I went up the road to the ski team and I said, listen, we're kind of in the same business. And fortunately, the guy at the front desk was a big cross-country skier. He's like, yeah, no, I totally know your organization. Things kind of are tough there, I know. I said, well, here's what I need. Can I borrow your postage machine? Can I borrow your copier? Can I borrow your scanner? And so every day, around lunchtime, I'd walk up the street with my pile of stuff I needed to do that day, all bundled together. And the more time I spent in their office, I got to know their business, just chit-chatting with them. And so eventually there was an opportunity. They were hiring someone to raise sponsorship and do their news reporting, which I had some experience with. Obviously, as a skier, I loved it. I was like, well, how cool is this? I'm going to work with the U.S. ski team. So I jumped ship. I did both for a while, and then I jumped ship, handed off what I thought was a better organization, and worked for those guys for like 6 or 7 years. By the end of it, I was the regional director for Alpine Development. I got married. My wife was in school in Boston, and then subsequently went to work in New York City. So I left that job to move to the city, and sort of on the way stopped by in Manchester, Vermont, where Burton Snowboards was headquartered at the time, to give a recommendation to somebody they were hiring as their world team coach. And by the time I was done having that interview and making the recommendation, they hired me instead, which I always felt a little badly about, but good for me. So instead of joining my wife and living in New York City, I spent the next year on the road all over the world with the Burton Pro team during the formative years with Craig Kelly, who was an amazing guy, and Jeff Brushy, and Terry Hawkinson when he was like 13 years old, and, making his first trip around the U.S. It was amazing, mind-blowing, and it was a great year. That's when making videos really started to become something. They were really the first team to start making films about snowboarding and doing whatnot. But finally, I left that and did move to the city and got a job producing special events. But it was a little bit wearing a suit, a tie, and a briefcase, and taking a train and commuting and all that, not my thing. And I really love skiing. So kind of took a look and drew a little circle around New York City to go, where's the closest ski area? Vernon Valley Great Gorge. Perfect timing. They were looking for a general manager, president, and I came up for an interview and got along really well with the owners. And the next thing I knew, there I was running my own ski area. That was like a dream. I had no idea. And Action Park, which was total bonus because I had no idea it even existed. I grew up in New England. I'd never heard of Action Park and everything that went with it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
What do you consider success in your life?
Satisfaction. All things. So I know it's kind of a goofy answer, right? Because everybody wants to make money, and it's easy to measure success and how much you make and what that gets you. But I think, a lot of studies have shown, and if people are really honest with themselves, you want to know that I consider success is that I make a difference, that what I bring to my team or to my business has a positive influence and moves us from one place to another. In our business, we have lots of opportunities for golden moments, and some of them are, saccharine, where it may be someone with a disability learning to ski, and of course that's a great one, but some others are just walking past a fire pit and seeing a family and looking at the faces, and you realize like they're having a moment that we've worked so hard to get it there, that they're just having this connection on an amazing day, and that's important to them and that's important to us, and we all get a little choked up about that sometimes as these things happen. So success, I think it's making a difference in people's lives. I think your generation is much better at that than mine. Typical measures of success were acquisition of things, and to get that stuff, you've got to work long, hard hours, and sometimes misplace perceptions of what the value of the work ethic. I've come to learn and have to work on it a lot, the value of a day, how much you can get done in a day, but when you're done, right? And then come back to it fresh the next day. And that takes a lot of effort and teamwork. That's what makes organizations work, is if everybody's doing their part and recognizes how important it is. It makes it possible for people to live the other half of their life.